In case any of you don't know me, I'm Judy Jaffer and I'm the chairman of the British UFO Research Association. And I'm now going to introduce you to Mr. Malcolm Robinson from Scotland, like myself. He's one of the really sort of turn your hand to anything researchers in this country, paranormal, UFOs, everything. He set up his own group in 1979 up in Scotland called Strange Phenomena Investigations, and he came down to London 5 years ago and opened another branch down here. And SPI runs monthly lectures in London. If any of you are interested in coming to the monthly lectures, please see Malcolm later. Also, please remember to switch your mobile phones off, just had a thought, and no flash photography, please. He's as I said, kindly stepped in at the very last minute to replace Jenny, and I'm sure you will not be disappointed. He has an unrivaled portfolio of paranormal cases, many of which he could talk about today, but he has decided to focus on one particular, very controversial and recently contentious case. It's been in the news again, disagreements between researchers, this being one of them. It's the Fife case that happened in 1996, massive UFO landing, sighting, contact, abduction experience in Fife in Scotland back in 96. As I say, Malcolm will give you the true picture of this case. And just before I hand you over to Malcolm, I would like to tell you that psychologists at Goldsmith College, London University, are starting an academic study of alien abduction experience. This will be done properly, with a proper scientific academic study. They're looking for volunteers. Anybody here who believes they've had contact with an alien stroke non-human consciousness or entity and would like to take part in this study, please see me later and I'll give you some more information about it. Or if you know anybody, friend, relative that might fit the bill, please come and see me later. So without further ado, I hand you over to Mr. Malcolm Robinson.
Who is this lady? Very good introduction. Thank you very much, Judy. Okay, before I begin, my name is Malcolm Robinson, as Judith just said. I always like to tell my audience a little bit about myself and how I got started in these fascinating subjects, and today's no different. I started off very, very young. I bought up all the books I could on the various aspects of the weird and the wonderful, and I decided that if ever I was going to learn anything more about these fascinating subjects, then I would have to become more actively involved. And this I did. I joined various societies. I joined Bufora way back in, when would that be? The middle 70s, 1970s, not the 1870s, or maybe look like that, would you? And I started up my own society entitled Strange Phenomena Investigations, as Judy said, back in 1979. The aims of SPI are basically to collect, research and publish accounts relating to most aspects of strange phenomena, and to purposely endeavour to try and come up with some answers to account for what at present eludes us. I'm a spiritualist. I believe in life after death. I started off to disprove all these subjects, thinking ghosts, poltergeists, UFO sightings, what a lot of nonsense, absolute nonsense. There's nothing in these things. It's like anything else. Once you get your hands dirty, once you start looking at the evidence, there is no smoke without fire. There is clearly some substance to the claims coming from witnesses. Yes, 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 there is a lot of people out to pull the wool over your eyes. Quite a lot of them, actually. Sweep it away, and you're left looking at some phantasmagorical information. It demands, it actually cries out for further research. And myself, my colleagues in this country and the States, Del Sims, etc., are trying to get a handle on that, trying to find out where this is going to lead us. On a personal note, before we come to this case, I do believe, I started off very sceptical, as I said, and I was aware of all these UFO abductions happening in America and Venezuela and Canada, but I hadn't investigated any of these cases until 1992, when a case came on board which totally blew me away. Today, here in October 2003, I firmly believe, personal, not SPI as a society, on a personal level, I firmly believe that there's a non-human intelligence interacting with humankind. That's my own take. You may have your own thoughts on that, and you don't need to necessarily believe what I tell you, because I've reached that after many, many years of long and hard study. Now today, as Judy says, we're going to deal with a very highly controversial case which is rearing its ugly head again up in Scotland, and if we've got time we may tell you why. But for the moment, I just want to go through some of the slides, some of the video footage that we have to show you today. Now we have had problems with the slide projector today, so please bear with me, and I hope the slides are going to work. We're going to have to hit this button twice. And also, because this is a lecture, which I hadn't really prepared today, because I'm stepping in for Jenny Randalls, I'm going to do a bit of reading. Now, I hate that, because I like to talk. You probably know anybody that knows me. I love to be in your face. I love talking to the heart. I'm going to have to read some notes and stuff like that today, but don't let that detract from what you're about to hear. Now, ufology can throw up some pretty challenging cases, and many investigators worldwide have seen how vastly perplexing this subject can be. High strangeness cases are on the increase, but what exactly does this tell us? In Scotland, recent cases would suggest that strange things are still afoot. Not only have there been photographs and video evidence of late, but we have had quite a few close proximity UFO sightings and encounters in Scotland. The following case, to all intents and purposes, is quite staggering. It borders on the unbelievable, and even for this researcher it was quite hard to accept. But having said that, one must realise that we live in a strange world with many mysteries which currently task our minds. It would be foolish to turn our backs on these mysteries just because they sound absurd. Is that what we do? Oh, that doesn't look very true. It must be nonsense. Not so. Some of the most strange, high, bizarre, close proximity UFO accounts are factual, do happen, but we have to have a look at this. Now, this following case was initially featured in the English-based Quest International publication UFO magazine, and I would now like to present Strange Phenomena Investigations research into this fascinating case, and this is something that I hope that you'll find some enjoyment out of, and I'm quite sure it's going to ask us. You're going to have a few questions after this one, believe you me. Okay, let's just see if we can move on a slide here. And I did tell you about this. Okay, see if we can do it manually up there, Matthew. How about we go at that part? Okay, SPI learned of this event a few weeks after it had occurred, and in a telephone call to one of the witnesses, we arranged a date and a time to interview the persons concerned. Myself, my colleagues Billy Devlin and Gary Wood travelled by cars to where the witness, Mary Morrison, which is a pseudonym, lived. Now, the area in Fife is very, very barren. It's fields, rolling fields, beautiful, beautiful countryside in the Fife area. Little cottage dotted here, over there, over there. I think you get the picture. It was not vastly populated by any form of imagination. We eventually found the farmhouse where this witness lived, and we sat down and we proceeded to explain that SPI as a society, when we talk to witnesses, we want to get these cases out to the public domain. Why? Because they can attract possibly more witnesses, more people who saw these things. That's why I work with the media. People say, you're always on the TV, you're doing radio shows and stuff like that. The reason is because, as I say, it attracts more witnesses. We need good people like yourself sitting out there today to come forward. Talk to me, talk to Daryl Sims, talk to John Spencer, talk to everybody you can meet in the subject and see. We're not experts. None of us are experts. We're just trying to get a handle on what's going on. Right, so where are we? Yes. It was on the evening of the 23rd of September 1996 that Mary Morrison, accompanied by her 10-year-old son Peter and Mary's friend Jane, left her farmhouse to travel to the nearby town of Fruquet to buy some coffee. The time was around 8:05 in the evening, and on the way there, they observed a large, black, triangular-shaped craft. And I'm sure people who are knowledgeable about the UFO subject know that there's a lot of these reports in Belgium and various other places. We have a hell of a lot of these cases here in the UK as well. Driving down the road, dark night. Saw this object hovering above the road. What on earth is this? What is that? this isn't a conventional aircraft, this isn't a conventional helicopter. What's going on here? So they stopped the car, and this triangular-shaped object was oscillating, rotating in the air, and they're looking at this. And then suddenly, 2 columns of light just came down from the underside of this object and started doing a spiral dance on the roadside. And they're like, oh my God. Jeez, this is something freaky here, this is something very bizarre. And the object then slightly banked, and you could see this dome-shaped part structure on the top of it. Can we get the next slide, Matthew? Or shall I try it here again? Okay, let's try again. I'll move on to that one. Right, so what happened there was that they saw this object, and then suddenly it blanked, and it just screamed off into the sky and was gone in seconds. They were shocked at this. They hadn't seen anything like it before. They lived in this area for many, many years. What on earth could this be? So they went to the shop in Fruquet, bought a jar of coffee, and in this shop also were a range of magazines, women's magazines, fishing magazines, and also a UFO magazine. I'll have some of that. She took that because maybe that was one of these UFO things that people are seeing. So she purchased a copy of UFO magazine, and they travelled back to the farmhouse, but on their way there, they saw the same or similar object again. Now this time, it was coming quite fast from a range of hills towards their car, and the 10-year-old son went hysterical. He was hysterical in the car, crying, "Mummy, Mummy, it's going to crash into the car. What is this? What is this? What's happening here?" And she tried to calm him down, and then it just screamed off into the sky, woof, right across the car, and was lost in seconds in the starry sky. They went to the farmhouse, and they said, the mother said to her daughter, "You'll never guess what we just saw there. What are these bizarre UFO things?" "Oh, you're joking." "Not at all, I'm not having none of that at all." "They're telling you, we saw one of these strange triangular-shaped objects hovering, and then it was coming across the sky, and it was right into, coming over the car." But, she was hysterical, trying to convince her daughter that they had saw something bizarre. "Okay, let me come out with you and see if I can see that as well." So the daughter decided to jump into the car, and they travelled back to the area. In fact, I'll have to go through some slides here. Just bear with me. This is the area here. We're going to show you some video footage shortly as well. Thank you, Matthew. And before we move to the next slide, as they were travelling along this B road, it wasn't a major trunk road or anything like that, they saw to the left of them a bank of trees. And they looked at these trees, and there were several columns of light coming up from behind these trees into the night sky. Columns of light. She likened it to the Second World War searchlights that the British used to have here in London to illuminate the German bombers. It's just like these big, strong searchlights, and there were quite a few dozen of these lights, blue, green, red. She said, "Actually, Malcolm, I was almost moved to tears with them. They were absolutely fantastic. I didn't know what they were. I've stayed in this area for many, many years, and I've never ever seen the likes of this in my life." But not only that, I mean, this is bizarre. I mean, I've got to tell you, these are the things that happen. She says, "Malcolm, in the air, all over this area, were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of what appeared to be star-like objects in the sky, hanging down. They were only about 200 or 300 feet above our heads. And we're looking at this. What's going on here? This is incredible. I've never seen this before." And then they drove down this little road. They came off the main road. Well, it wasn't the main road, it was a B road. They came off that and went down this slip road towards this area. I'll see if I can go to the next slide. I've got a few slides and some video footage here. That's just another part of this road. So they're travelling down here, and if you can imagine in this area, as I said just a moment ago, all in the sky, not way up high, down there, all round about here was hundreds and hundreds of starry pinpricks of light all over that area. Next slide, please, Matthew. Again, that's just the area where she took the car down. And the next slide. Okay. Now, let's move on to this part here. Also in this area, where all these sparkling lights were, there was this tremendous orange ball hanging motionless in the sky, and she said it was like black specks contained within this ball, all moving in and around this orange ball, and it had a slight indentation in the top of it. She didn't know what it was. Very, very bizarre. Right, okay. Yes, as I said, she was moved by tears. So it was at this point that events took a dramatic turn. For whilst they were all captivated by this amazing spinning lights in the sky, Mary became aware of figures. Move to the next slide, please, Matthew. Again, that's just an area, Falkland Hill, that's it there. And also, just before we move to that, John, just above that hill, there was another big object here, just resting, just hanging motionless above this. I mean, it's like something out of Steven Spielberg's, one of his, blockbuster movies. And this is the area. So they've came off, the road is up here, and they've came down this way, and that wall you see, there's just that small road just at the back of that wall, and they're travelling down here. Next slide, please, John. Right, okay, here we go. They suddenly, as I said, became aware of figures silhouetted in these lights, because in front of this bank group of trees there was this whitish bluish light, just like a mist on a morning, but contained within this mist there's not one, not two, not three, not four, she said hundreds. Hundreds of these small grey beings were illuminated and just in the front of these lights. Now, she saw, and I'll just read from this again, she said the figures were running around and appeared to be very, very busily picking up what looked like boxes or cubes and also cylinders and canisters. And they were taking these cylinders and canisters and these boxes further back into the woods to this other object which is nestling in a clearing further back in the woods here. They were carrying all these boxes and cubes as well. But what Mary was most surprised to see was the sight of a very large being who was a different colour from these smaller grey beings. And she says that he was like the colour of tan brown. And he was standing a short distance away from the rest of these beings, and I'll just go through this. He was standing away from the main play of all the activity that was going on. He was standing very, very impartial, standing back. It was like one of these gaffers you get in a building site. Just standing there. He was very tall, tan brown, different colour from these small chaps. And the back of his head was very, very bulbous back of his head. And that's quite different when you look at sightings of entities and reports of entities. This was not your conventional entity by any way, shape or form. And then he did something bizarre. I've never heard of this before. He then just stood, he was looking at all these people, all these other beings running around the fields and stuff. And he put his hand down on the grass. He was an ornithologist chap. She reckons he was about 14 to 15 feet tall, and he put his hand on the grass. Reason? I haven't a clue. No idea where he did that. Now, as soon as this there was this light beam also shot down from the sky at this point. I mean, it's so bizarre. This light beam shot down from the sky, and it was at this point that the memory of events becomes very sketchy. Next slide, please, Matthew. And she believes that they all took a fright to the light and jumped back into their car and headed off to a friend's house. And it was at her friend's house that she decided to phone one of the contacts that she found in UFO magazine. It was a chap called Larry Dean. Now Larry Dean said that they should contact Malcolm Robinson of SPI myself, because obviously I was hands-on in the particular area. But when she tried to call me, I had moved house, and so the number was unobtainable. So they actually passed it on to Tony Dodd at UFO magazine. And it was at Jane's house that Mary spoke to Jane's husband about what had transpired, but unfortunately he had to go to work. It doesn't matter if there are aliens coming down, this chap's got to get off to work, he's going to do the night shift. What's going on here? But nonetheless, he offered the women the use of his binoculars, and so these intrepid witnesses after seeing this part, as I said, they jumped in their car and just screamed back to the farmhouse, came back for another time, armed with a pair of binoculars, just to see if they could see something very, very sharp and clear and in focus, because they were terrified. They did not want to go any further than they had to, because this was getting something out of the Twilight Zone. Well, they didn't have to wait long, because as they travelled in the direction of the earlier sighting, next slide please, Matthew, if we can move away from that one, they again saw these strange star shapes in the sky, and they also observed on that Falkland Hill that you saw earlier, another one of these objects coming, just hanging above the hill. She's not sure if it was the same or a similar one, but it was very, very clear. Now they came back down this forestry path again, and they came down to this area, and they're looking at all these small grey beings again, and they decided to get out of the car. But this time they were feeling that touch more okay about the events, even though they were quite bizarre. And then she said, we were gobsmacked, Malcolm. What happened? Suddenly, there were several cocoons of like bubbles, like soap bubbles. I know it's bizarre, you can see it in this illustration here. And there were small beings in these soap bubbles moving. And then suddenly, several of these small soapy bubbles, which contained 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 individuals, entities, call them what you will, started to move across this farmer's field. And she was just absolutely gobsmacked at that. They took fright at this. They couldn't believe what they were seeing, and they jumped back in the car, and she just put it into gear, and just as they drove away, before they drove away, the daughter had looked out the passenger side window, and she saw one of these small beings peering in the window, and that just totally freaked her out. They screamed off from the area. Is that working, these slides, Matthew? I don't know if it's jammed. Okay, this is just some illustrations that was actually done for SPI. I think it was a group in Mansfield. We did not do these illustrations ourselves. It was some colleagues from the Mansfield UFO Society. And the next slide, please, Matthew. Okay. So as they left the area, the whole area illuminated by a terrific blue burst of light. And it was like night had turned into day with a blue tinge. And they just couldn't believe what they saw. In fact, what we'll do, we'll just move to the first piece of video, Matthew. We can really cut to the video, because it's always nice when you talk about a case to show you, the listener, the actual location where this event happened, because it puts it in your mind's eye, to have a look where this incident occurred. And it's just coming up in a moment. In fact, once we get it up, I'll let it run, and we can talk through it as well. It's just after this bit, I'll come off in a minute. Don't worry about this bit. Okay, here we go. That's one of my daughters, quite a few years ago. Yeah, okay, I'm going to talk through this case and leave this running for you. And this is some footage, video footage I took not so long after this. And this is the road. They had travelled from behind, this is over here, they travelled from, their farmhouse is away over here, and they travelled down this road, away down to the village of Fouquet. And it's over in this direction, excuse me, where they went down this other road, where the grouped bank of trees were. And we'll show you that in a moment, I'll come through. Now, I also asked Mary about this mist that was coming towards her car just before they fled, and she told me that she herself did not see this mist, but her friend had described it as looking very fibrous, like a cocoon, and all these small beings were being carried in it towards their car. Their legs were not moving. The orange light that they all saw earlier also contained beings, and that was the one just above Falkland Hill up there. Now, Mary claims that surprisingly she didn't see them, but all the others did. SPI ascertained that they arrived back at Jane's house roughly about 12:30, and Mary had the distinct impression that she had watched this amazing spectacle for much longer than she actually did. And on one occasion, while she was in the car before they fled the scene, She says, Malcolm, I don't know, I'll tell you for what it's worth. She says, just before we fled the scene and my daughter told us there was a small grey being looking inside the car, it was like somebody had grabbed my hair and started to pulling me back in the driver's seat. And I just felt it so real, so bizarre, so very, very strong. It was a very, very clear feeling. Now, she also said to researcher Tony Dodd at UFO magazine, and it was Tony Dodd that suggested that she look out for any unusual marks on her body. And this may be jumping the gun a bit at this stage, but that's what Tony Dodd suggested to her. Now, that first day, as far as she knew, she had no marks on her body. It was a few days after that when she learned about her friend's daughter, Susan, who had a strange mark on her shoulder, as if blood had been sucked up through the skin. And this mark resembled two small vertical bars. And later on in this presentation, I'll show you a slide of the marks. This is me and my colleague just recreating the journey to Fouquet, just to give you, the people out there, a view of the area in question. And we're just driving. In fact, could we give that a wee spin on fast forward, Matthew, for me, please? Now, Mary's son Peter had no marks at all, but a few days later, Jane found another mark which appeared on her right shoulder. This consisted of a brown discoloration. It was blotchy and irregular around the edges. Susan, Jane's daughter, then found another mark, this time on her right shoulder. It was about 4 inches long and appeared roughly about a week after the main sighting. Now, the week after the event, Monday the 30th, Jane found on the top of her right thigh an immense bruise, a very colourful bruise. And SPI asked Mary if she or the others had experienced any headaches, any strange tastes in their mouth after the incident. She replied that they had not, but individually they were all very, very stressed out by the events of that particular night. Now, on Sunday the 20th of October, a month after this sighting, one of Mary's friends, along with her son, came to visit. She was leaving her son with Mary as she was going away on a weekend visit. But soon her son and young Peter were playing happily in the bedroom. However, things were soon to change. For as the young son was playing with his friends, they were playing on the carpet with small soldiers and stuff, he just happened to look at the window, and he claims that he saw, I know it sounds bizarre, but I mean it is a bizarre case anyway. The young boy says that he saw this white, not grey, this white small being floating, free floating, just outside the window like that, and he let out the biggest scream in his life. And he tore down those stairs, and he was very, very distressed. He was really distressed. On another occasion, yeah, this is it's come up to the town of Fouquet where this little shop was where she bought the magazine. And once we reach this part, Matthew will zip it on a touch. But on another occasion, she was on the phone to a colleague of mine talking about this case, and she had ran a bath for her young son. He's 10-year-old. She had run a bath for him. He's up there in the bathroom. And she's on the phone, and suddenly she hears, "Mummy, Mummy, Mummy, come quick, come quick, come quick." She threw the phone down in mid-conversation, threw 6-7 steps up the staircase, burst into the toilet, the bathroom area. She says, "What is it? What is it? What's the problem?" And the wee boy was shaking, he was crying hysterically. What's happening? There was a small being just standing next to the bath. There was a small being, and I hate him, he's horrible, he's standing there, he's grinning at me. And she said that the son went on to say that he had a jagged row of teeth. Now, any students of ufology will know that in these accounts you don't really have accounts of these small grey beings with jagged rows of teeth. We have a couple of slides that we're going to show you later which indicates yes, we do. There are some cases from North America, Mexico, and various other places which are now starting to surface of these small grey beings which contain all these jagged teeth. Now, when one is dealing with young children in cases such as this, one must be very, very careful. And if you could go fast forward quite a bit on this, Matthew, to the actual end of this road scene, because that's when it dips down into the fields again, and we can show you that particular area. I started to ask questions, because when we went there with SPI and a few researchers, as I said earlier, I said, look, we're trying to obtain more witnesses. Are you okay about doing this interview? Yeah, Malcolm, I'll tell you anything because I have nothing to hide. This account did happen. We did see what we saw that night. Not a problem. So we started talking away to the lady in question, asking her all about the things that she had saw, and she appeared to me because I've talked to many, many witnesses. I've talked to many witnesses all over my life, all the things I've done, different cases, ghost poltergeists, and you get a feel for who's telling you the truth and who's trying to pull the wool over your eyes. And I'm looking at body language, and looking at mannerisms, looking for anything out of order. I'm not a trained psychologist in any way, shape or form. Of course not. I'm just a guy who's spoken to many, many people, and you can suss out, I would say maybe 8 to 9 out of 10 people, you can say, well, yeah, they're true or they're not true. So I'm looking at her, and she appeared, okay, she's telling, and we have an audio tape of part of the interview, which we may have time to let you listen to later on this afternoon. So I'm looking at her, and she's telling the story, and the young son, who was on the carpet drawing the beings that he saw, he says, Malcolm, why don't you ask the little people what you want and why you're here tonight? And I says, what do you mean? Well, there's 3 of them standing over there at the window. What? So I looked, and my colleagues all looked around, we've got the cameras, and it was a big bay window, you know, like the 50 pence piece in your pocket. It was just one of these big bay windows. And we looked, and there was nothing there. Absolutely nothing there. But we got the cameras, and we started flash, taking photographs, because any researcher will tell you sometimes things can come up on photographs when you see them, or you can take a photograph, nothing's in the area at the time, and something comes up on the photograph. It works both ways. Never saw a thing, but we took photographs anyway. Yeah, this is video footage of them going down this little road here, and this is a banked group of trees that I mentioned earlier. It's a bit disjointed, this ledger, bear with me because it's just been thrown together. This is a bank of trees, so they're travelling down here. They've already had 2 encounters with these black triangles in the sky here, and at this point there's still all these starry bits hanging motionless in the sky, and they're looking up there and they're scratching their head, my goodness me, what else, what is this? Now, as they come to this, there's a little sharp turn here, and they move straight on, and you'll see the actual trees in a minute, and I'll talk you through exactly what happened again. So yeah, I mean, this wee chap saw this small grey being with this jagged row of teeth, and it was very bizarre. So I'm speaking to the woman, and as I said, the young son said, well, there's 3 of them at the window. And as I said, we took some photographs, and I looked at the mother again, thinking that she's maybe going to be a little bit embarrassed at her son talking about small grey beings, and I looked at her, and she looked okay, she looked deadpan, she was fine. I says, can you see them? Can you see what your son is claiming to see in this house, in your living room? Can you see them? Yes, I can. Well, I can't see them. I can see them. Well, not exactly see them. It's like a hazy mist on a summer's day. You know the effect that you get on a road on a hot summer's day, like a small mirage. It's shimmering. I can see that quite clearly. It's there. And I know if I keep staring at it, they're going to come through. These small beings are going to come through. And that was a wee bit nerve-wracking for me as well, because it's happened a few times. I've given talks and stuff, and people have said they've seen things with me. I talk about ghosts and poltergeists, and I come off the stage and people will say to me, nice talk, very interesting, but I think there were other people interested in your talk as well. I said, why? Who? The 3 spirit people on stage with you. I says, what? She says, yeah, didn't you see them, Mr. Robinson? There were 3 people from spirit side on the stage with you. I said, well, I never saw anything. And because I'm not that psychic, who was it that said I'm psychic as a brick? John Spencer. I'm the same, I'm definitely psychic as a brick. Although I've had my own experiences, but we'll leave that to another lecture as well. Now, dealing in cases such as this, and just, as I say, this is just look at this in the background. Dealing with cases such as this, one sometimes stumbles across pieces of information which can be incredible and hard to believe, as I've said so many times already just now. But because information can sound fantastic, it doesn't mean that there's no truth in it. It's up to people like me and my colleagues to find out that truth. So what you're about to learn just now really does border on the incredible. It's ridiculous, it's crazy, and I don't blame anybody for throwing a good few tomatoes at me. It's so unbelievable. Anyway, it would be wrong of me to keep this information out of the lecture and just show you all the nice bits and the juicy bits. No, I won't do that. I'm going to tell you stuff that probably makes the case come down in people's estimations and maybe let people think that it didn't happen at all. But this is what happened for what it's worth. Now, I was at this point during an interview with Mary and our son Peter, and we proceeded to ask questions about Peter and his school. Now, the following information is taken straight from our audio-taped interview. Billy Devlin asked, "Has anything happened to you at your school?" Peter replied, there was a small green one, a brown one, and a huge white one at school in the classroom. These ones did not have any teeth. The grey one was holding the top of my pencil, showing me what number to write. And Billy asked, "Did you say anything to your colleagues, your pals in the class?" To which Peter replied, no, not at all. And I asked, "Were you frightened?" Peter replied, "No." And then I asked, "Did he speak to you or try to tell you something?" No, he didn't. And Billy queried, "Well, why were you not frightened?" Whereupon Peter quickly said, "Because he was helping me." Now, Peter's tone of voice was as if that we should have known this, that he was helping him. What's going on here? And Billy said, "Well, but surely he didn't appear just holding your pencil." To which Peter replied, "He came in the same time as me." And then Gary Wood replied, "Do you think that he knew you?" And Peter answered, "I don't know. He might have known me." Billy then asked, "Was he with you before you went to school?" To which Peter answered, "He was in my room this morning. Before I woke up, he was standing near the bed." Billy went on, "So you got up, you dressed, you went downstairs. Did the small being follow you downstairs?" He nodded. "Was he there when you were eating your breakfast in the family home in the kitchen?" Yes, he was there." And my colleague says, "Did you not go up and tell your mum?" To which he replied, "No, she's pretty scared of these things." And I then asked, "How tall or how short was this little entity, or whatever it was?" Peter answered, "He was about the same size as me." And Peter's about 4.5 feet tall, 5 feet tall. And the being that he described, and we'll show some slides in a moment. This is me just looking at this area. We uncovered that this was an area where all these small grey beings were seen that night from the distance, maybe about several hundred yards across this farmer's field. And in this area where I'm standing were all these beings, as I said a moment ago, carrying these boxes, holding these cubes and taking them further back into the woods, where this large structured object was there. And as I said a moment ago as well, picture the scene, all this activity being seen by these people who were absolutely gobsmacked looking at this. And all these bubbles coming across the farmer's field with these small grey beings in it. It was just too much to bear. So Billy Devlin asked the young boy, "So he followed you all through that day and he helped you with your homework? Where did he go after that?" Peter then said, "He went through the wall." Okay. Did he not say cheerio or anything before he went? No, he just turned round and he just walked through the wall. And I had this in a case I was dealing with in London. This chap came to see me. I saw a newspaper article that I did in the local newspaper. And this guy was a big burly chap, and he was studying in one of the colleges in London. He says, "Mr. Robinson, I've got to tell you this, man. I've got to get this off my chest. Something happened to me, and I've got to let you know." I says, "Well, okay, talk to me. I'm here to listen to you, not a problem." And he proceeded to tell me that in one of the halls of residence in one of the London universities, it was a warm, balmy July. I'm coming off this case, I'm moving on again. It was a warm, balmy kind of July evening, and he was lying naked on his bed, and he had a clicking noise in the room, and he went, "Well, what's that? I don't understand where that's coming from." And then there was like a big gust of wind came through the room. What on earth is this? And then suddenly he froze. Suddenly he was completely immobilised, this chap. And he was a big fella. He was a big man, this chap, and he was immobilised. And suddenly he saw these three brown, they're not always grey, any students of ufology will know this. he saw 3 brown beings walking through the wall, hence what I'm telling you about this case here. But before these beings came through the wall, it was like a shimmering effect, because he could just gently see, he couldn't move his head, but he could just see the wall, and the wall was shimmering. It's like a pool of water, and you just got a pebble, and it plopped it in this pool, and all the shimmers. That's what the wall looked like. And out of this effect came these 3 small beings, and one of them had this thin rod-like effect, like a, I don't know, it's like a long thin pencil, about this size, about that size. He held it in his hand, and he went, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And he got this thing, you can imagine this, and this being just inserted this needle just below his ribcage, and he says, I felt immense pain. I've never ever felt pain like this in all my life. And then suddenly, he tried to let out a scream, he couldn't. He tried his very best to scream, he couldn't get the words out at all. And then suddenly, and thankfully for him, it started to come back out of his chest, and these wee chaps just went like this, wobbled back, and went right through the wall. And, you know, this is what young Peter says. They were in his classroom, and they walked through the wall. Now, there's a difference here. We've all heard about imaginary playmates, and I've spoken to many witnesses, mothers and fathers, who said, yeah, well, yeah. I remember my son, he called this wee chap Peter, and this young chap saw this young girl called Jane. And they said that they had these imaginary playmates. But as children grow older, they seem to lose this psychic faculty, if indeed that's what it is. Young kids, and some of my own kids, have seen things themselves when they were younger. But they've grown out of that, and sometimes they forget, or sometimes they remember, and I'll come back to that. Now, I mean, I said it's bizarre, and we also learned at this point in our discussion with Peter that the strange creatures who actually shared a taxi on their way back from the school to the farmhouse. They tell you it's strange. And it was quite unusual. I mean, it was apparent to me that due to Peter's close proximity to his unseen friend, unseen as far as the rest of the classmates go, that he surely must have been able to observe very, very closely the many features of this small creature. And so I endeavoured to ask him how many fingers this little being had. And Peter replied, the young son replied, he had 3 on each arm, 3 fingers he had. I then asked if his fingers were long, thin, fat, short. Any nails? Did you notice any nails on any of his fingers? And any lines on the hand? You know, we've all got veins in our hands and lines in each and every one of his hands. He says, no. He says, I didn't see any veins, I didn't see any knuckles, I didn't see any... It was just pure, just like this wall, but just this wall here, it was just flat skin on this little being's hands. And Gary Wood then asked, was his hand warm or cold? To which Peter replied, it was cold. I then asked, did this small creature have oh yes, because I missed out a bit. The young Peter also said, he says that something else I noticed about these small beings was that just at their elbow, their forearm and there, was a flap of skin. Now, I've never encountered that before in any UFO scenario, any UFO case that I've personally worked on. I've read a lot of books dealing with many abductions and close proximity entity case reports, and I haven't personally seen any of this in the literature. So, did he make it up, or was he telling the truth? But what we're going to do just now, we're going to see if we can get these slides back working, because I want to show you some more slides. You're doing a grand job there, Matthew, thank you very much. Your check's in the post. Right, yeah, I also asked Mary if she had any strange dreams after the incident, because I always ask my witnesses, how are you sleeping? And 9 times out of 10, the witnesses will say, I'm not sleeping very well at all. I'm really traumatised with what I saw. And this woman had a lot of strange, bizarre dreams as well. And also with sexual overtones as well. But before we come to that, we'll see if we can move. This is one of the things that we noticed when we took many photographs. Some of these photographs was taken by one of my colleagues. And you can see a strange marking, discoloration, from the grass verge onto the road surface, but to all intents and purposes we believe that that was just the car reversing. It's only mud stains from the grass verge onto the road surface there, and we believe that's where they were that night. They had screamed up to this part of the grass and drove away again. Next slide, please. There were also quite a number of strange deposits found in this location. And some might say, well, that looks like the remnants of someone's fire, a small fire somebody's been building a fire. It wasn't, it was very tarry. It was a tar substance, and we don't know what that was. We sent it away for analysis, and we're still waiting for that to come back. This information never came back to us. Next slide, please, Mark. Again, just another photograph of the deposits. It was found in the area. And again, Martin. And again. I mentioned earlier about one of the ladies when it was Tony Dodd mentioned were there any marks on your body, and not at that time, but in the days following, as you can quite clearly see, this is the shoulder of one of the women involved in this bizarre incident, and you can see two boxes, oblong boxes, I guess, short oblong boxes on her left shoulder. That's what you're looking at, her left shoulder. She also said there was a small discoloration or a bruise, a strange kind of bruise just under her left breast as well. Next slide, Matt. Now, the reason why this slide's blanked out is because obviously we have to protect the witnesses' names, etc. And this is one of the photographs we took. Remember when I said, Mr. Robinson, why don't you ask them why you're here? There are three of them standing there. We swung round, and could you keep pointing, Peter? Yeah, I'll keep pointing. And he's pointing there, and this is a bay window here with the heavy black curtains. And we're taking all these photographs and flashing away, hoping that something might just come up, we might capture something, and it wasn't to be. And this is the young boy there pointing. And again, Martin. Okay, and this was a scene, it was like bizarre. I can't explain it to you in this room, it was so bizarre. Telling us that there's small creatures in this room with us, unseen to us. This is Gary Wood on the left-hand side. And Gary Wood actually was one of the principal witnesses in a UFO abduction case that took me off the skeptical fence. That's another lecture, that's an entirely different lecture. Some of you may already have heard that lecture, but that's the chap there. And since his own abduction account, he has thrown himself into the world of ufology. He's looking for answers, he wants to find out more, and he actually informed SPI about this case. It was actually Gary on the left there who told SPI to get involved with this, and I'm so glad he did. The tall chap standing up with the beard is a good colleague of mine in Scotland, Billy Devlin, and he was helping out quite extensively on this case with us. Next slide, please, Matt. I mentioned about these small beings, and this is you're looking at obviously an illustration, a drawing from, I forget which particular magazine this came from, but when we inquired with our colleagues overseas, they said, yeah, we're aware of these type of small beings, and this is an illustration. And when we showed young Peter this, he said, that's it. That's exactly what I saw. That little chap there. Next slide, please. This is your typical, stereotypical greys, and these were exactly like the beings that that family saw on the road that night. And as I said to you, there were hundreds of them, not just several or 10 or 12, there were hundreds carrying all these boxes. Entities come in all shapes and sizes, but anybody that knows their subject know that these are the kind of typical beings, entities, call them what you will, that are associated with close proximity, UFO sightings, etc. Some of them, as I think Daryl Sims said earlier, they have no genitalia. Some of them appear, well, they are small, but they appear to have no ribs, whilst other cases appear to have ribs. It's just all over the place, this subject. We're just trying to get a handle on it. Next slide, please, man. Now this is the farmhouse where the actual lady lived, and she lived in the top of a hill. It was quite a steep hill, and this is the farmhouse here. And I'll throw this in. This is a bedroom here. This top left-hand side, that was a bedroom. And she says, Mr. Robinson, while I've got you here, and I want to pour my heart out to you, I want to tell you exactly what happened on this night. And I'm not telling you lies, I swear to God I'm not. A few days after this main event, she was just looking out of that bedroom window into a beautiful panoramic Scottish starry sky. And she was just admiring the view over the Forth Valley and stuff, and she's looking at this. Again, it's bizarre, didn't I tell you this? She's looking at this large black triangular shaped object just came softly and gently over the rooftop of her house. Jesus Christ, what's this? Oh, what's this? And she looked up and she says, Malcolm, it was like an Airfix model, these kit models that you buy. She says, you pick them off, there was like tubes and boxes and pipes and this and that, and it had 3 lights on the triangles, 3 small red lights which were blinking. And she just looked at this and there was no noise. There was no noise, very, very slowly, silently moving across her house. And it went maybe about 200-300 yards and it stopped. And she said, look at a camera. I've got to film this, I need the proof, I've got to get proof of this. But she didn't, because before she even went downstairs to grab a camera, the object just, like an elastic band, ping, ping, it was gone. It was gone in seconds. It just traversed the sky and was gone in seconds. Next slide, please, Billy. Now, we sent out, we spoke to several newspapers at this time. This is from the Daily Star, and we spoke to a number of newspapers about this, purely to get, as I say, more response, and we did. We did get a hell of a lot of other people coming forward with triangular-shaped objects, reports, this, that, and the other, but not on that night. I cannot, for the life of me, understand how a scenario, a Steven Spielberg scenario, like Alice in Wonderland, like something fantastic, all these starry lights, mists, columns of light coming up from the trees, beings being blown over in bubbles across the farm. How on earth does anybody not see this that night? Now, it wasn't a highly populated area. The village of Fruki is about 2 miles, maybe not even, maybe a mile and a bit away from this particular area. How on earth did anybody not see that on that night? You know, the initial event, as I said, started just after 8:05, and we never managed to get any other witnesses to this particular bizarre incident. Next slide, please, Matt. Yeah, this is just one of the other things dealing with that. And again, Matt. Yeah, I mean, this chap here, and it's not coming out so well on this photostat copy. This is a guy called Stuart Campbell. Hey, Stuart Campbell, for anybody who knows him, is an arch debunker, not a skeptic, he is a debunker. And Stuart, if you tell him, you know, this wall is white, Stuart, this wall's white, no, it's black. What? You know it's white, no, it's black. And that's the type of people myself and my colleagues who investigate that can come up against now and again. People who just will not believe if you show them, even if you took a little grey's hand and says, what do you think of that, Stuart? Oh, it's just somebody in a wee suit, isn't it? You know. So these are the type of people you're up against. And when we did this for one of the major Scottish newspapers, Stuart gave his take on it, which is fair play. Don't get me wrong. There's always 2 sides to a story. You're going to, as I say, you're hearing events of this particular case, believe you me. We are admittedly, we're dealing with one visit with the witnesses. We only interviewed 2 people, the mother and the daughter. The other 2 people who were involved in this case did not wish to be interviewed at all, which was a shame because we would have liked their testimony. After we made that initial audio tape with the witnesses, they clammed up and they refused to speak to any other people about this. They had told their story and they wanted to get away with it. That was in the story. There was another chap who came on to investigate this later. They may have came off that fence because they did speak to a chap called David Coleman who spent 2 years analysing this case. He managed to speak to all the witnesses and he did a bit of research himself. And as I say, it's a controversial case because David has been attacking me for a number of years now, saying that SPI did not conduct a proper investigation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not becoming of me to do any investigation if I just want to plant false information and do this and do that. I'm wanting to get to the truth. You people out there are here to these conferences. You too want to get to the truth. You want to be informed of what's going on. That interview and what you're hearing today is word for word from that audio tape from that lady. Of course, she could be lying, but I don't think so. The story you heard about the school, the little being was there, and the young kid got up in the morning, looked at the foot of his bed, there's a small being there, went down to breakfast with him, shared a taxi there and back from the school. He was helping him with his homework, holding his pencil. How bizarre can you get? How bizarre can you get? It's off the scale. It's totally off the scale. Next slide, please, Bill. I keep saying no, Matt. Next slide, Matt. And again. Now, the witness says to me, Mr. Robinson, you won't tell the people who we are, will you? No, of course I won't. I can guarantee you we will never, ever, ever divulge your details to any media sources without your written consent. I promise you. But what if they find out where we are? What if people come to the farmhouse? What if this, what if that? I said, listen, we won't tell anybody where you are. So when we spoke to the newspapers, wow, interesting story, Mr. Robson, really incredible. Where did this happen in Fife? Happened in near Kennaway. Kennaway is a small town in that particular area. It happened nowhere near Kennaway. It happened miles and miles away from Kennaway. I lied the first time in my life. I lied to the media just to ensure that they would come with their cameras and come with their interviewers and try and find, are you the person that saw these small grey beings? No, okay, next house. Are you the person that saw, no, next house. That's how I saw it. And I lied. And even doing all this, the people who say that SPI did not conduct good research in this case, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. We've actually had to shut down our website because this chap continually attacks SPI about this. Now, I've said to this guy, I says, David, you're giving me a hard time, mate. Come on, let's sort this out. Why doesn't all the Scottish ufologists meet round the table, cards on the table, discuss this case? There are a hell of a lot of bickering in ufology. It's got to stop, and you get this with clubs and societies. You get it in card schools, you get it in fishing clubs. Somebody's not happy with somebody. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. David, let's meet, and cards on the table, and if I'm lying, then I'll admit it, I'll put my hand up. What do you think of that? You're weak and pathetic, Robinson. You're weak and pathetic. Why am I weak and pathetic? I'm trying to get this case out in the public domain. I've been researching this case for 2 years, and you've only done two C90 cassettes. Come on. I says, David, I've got nothing to hide. That was word from the audio cassettes. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do with you, David. How about I give you £1,000? How about I give you £1,000 British money if you can prove anything in this case is a hoax? Okay, how about £2,000? Will that do you? And that challenge still remains to this day, and it's not just to Dave Coleman, it's to anybody in ufology in the United Kingdom who thinks that this case has not been researched. I'm sorry I'm going on about this, but it's giving me a hard time. And £2,000 for anybody can prove that it's a hoax or anything like that. And that still stands the test of time at the moment. Next slide, please, Matthew. With any investigation, we always check. Any case, doesn't need to be this case, we always check with the authorities to find out if there were any aircraft in the air at the time, any military helicopters, any military air exercises, any hang gliding pilots out for a midnight stroll near enough. Anything that could give a genuine reason to account for this. We checked. These are some of the letters we got back. Where is this one from? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, that was just actually that's someone who wrote to SPI saying that they saw a black triangular-shaped object. No, so I tell you, it was a jet in the area. Sorry, I tell you, it was a jet in the area following a dull grey disc-like object in the sky. So that's why we work with the media to get these stories and then analyse that, to find out if Mrs. Bloggs is telling the truth. Next slide, please, Matt. Dr. David, do nice. Next slide, Matt, if you can. Cheers. Also, we notified the local police. We asked the local police if they could give us some indication. We said, look, has anybody, any members of the public, came forward and says, put their hands up and reported something? There were none. None at all. Next slide, please, man. The nearby RAF lookers, we checked with them just to find out if anything was in the air at the time, and there were no overflights of anything in that area again. Checked with Edinburgh Airport, Glasgow Airport, checked with London Heathrow with flights up to Dundee and Aberdeen and stuff, because some of these flights overshoot that particular area. Nothing, absolutely nothing in the sky. Next slide, please, Mark. Yeah, this is just a kind of stock standard letter we sent out to the agencies. Now, Mary also explained to SPI that she felt very, very nervous staying alone in the house. She is aware of things around her, especially, as I mentioned a moment ago, this shimmering light would suddenly appear. She's watching TV, and out the corner of her eye, she just looks and she's shimmering it. I don't want to see this, I don't want to see this. She turns away, she just doesn't want to look at this shimmering light because she knows if she stares at this light, it's just going to come forward, and one of these, two of these, three of these little beings is going to be there. She just doesn't want to know. On one occasion, however, she did want to know. She decided to let this shimmering effect develop and just see exactly what came out of it. And what came out of it was one of these typical grey alien faces. It started to come out of this shimmering effect and come straight towards her. Just the face, not the body, just the face. Come towards her. And at this point, she passed out. As I said, she was a highly strung woman. She was very nervous. She actually said, and next slide please, Matthew, next slide please. She actually said that she wanted counselling. She says, Mr. Robinson, I really can't go on here. I'm at my wit's end, I'm frightened of staying in this house, the shimmering effect, I've seen UFOs above the house, I've seen things that's happening all over the place. Please, could you get me a counsellor? I need to talk to someone. I'm not on medication. This happened to me. So we put her in touch with a counsellor, and admittedly, he was a qualified counsellor. We got him out a proper journal and stuff. She went to see this chap, and she wasn't that impressed by the way he handles himself. Admittedly. How many times has he dealt with a case like this? Probably none. And so she didn't really take the counselling on that particular occasion. Mary also went on to inform SPI that in her house she believes she has a ghost of a dog which sometimes runs by her. The family don't own any dogs. A few weeks prior to her visit, the family heard the sounds of a dog. The family cat, because they do have cats, shot straight out of the kitchen with its eyes as wide as saucers and its tail all bristling out, and both Mary and her husband went into the kitchen where they were then amazed to hear the sound of something lapping out of the cat's bowl. They looked at the bowl where the water was in this bowl. It was just like something was lapping. There was no disturbance in the water of this bowl at all, just the sound of this water being displaced, being moved. We asked Peter if the cats reacted to this ghostly dog, and also these creatures, for want of a better word. Did they hiss? I.e., did the cats hiss if anything came into the room? Peter replied that one of their two cats did indeed hiss at these beings, while the other cat was quite content at being stroked by one of these small grey creatures. This is what's been said. I mean, I will not take out the unsavoury bits of this report just to please an audience. I could tell you about the main sightings and stuff. It's always best that you know the type of things regarding this. And we also talked about Mary about these balls of light, which she said that she hadn't experienced for a few days now. She did recount the time when a strange blue light swept into her bedroom. I've lost count of the times I've heard that story. Blue shafts of light coming into... It doesn't necessarily need to be an abductee or an abductee claimant. It could just be a UFO witness. They're lying in their bed late at night. This blue column of light and its phantasmagorical shades of blue. Terrific shade of blue. She says, Malcolm, I saw this. This blue light came in and it bent. It bent, this light, just if you can imagine my finger, it just bent like that in mid-air. And it was as if it was searching. As if it was searching in the room. It was moving all over the room. Next slide, please, Paul. Let's see what slides I've got. That's one. Now, as I said, there is overflight from some flying schools, RAF Lucas, and this is quite a large plane that flew over the area whilst we were there. We took a photograph of this just to show you how low flying some of these objects can be. Now obviously at a height of that, which is only about several hundred feet, if that, these are very, very noisy aircraft, and you can hear them a mile away and you know exactly that they are an aircraft. Even if it was cloudy, you would hear this noise. Next slide, Mark. Again, this is a shot where the car was parked on that night. So again, put it into your mind's eye. Just aside of this slide here was a small wall. The car's parked there. They're looking towards this banked, this group of trees. You saw earlier in the video that I was searching the grass and looking in the grass. Well, this column of light, this blue whitish mist of light, was all in front of this area of trees, and there were searchlights coming up from these trees. It was like a spectacular show, like a laser light show. And someone did ask me that. Was it laser lights? Was someone doing a kind of house party, an acid party? You do get them actually. In these woods, nobody would admit to it, of course. Of course, there'd be charges if they did. And as I said a moment or two ago, these blue, yellow bubbles of light came from the woods towards their car, and they just shocked them to the core, absolutely shocked them to the core. And there was all these, as I mentioned earlier, sparkly lights hanging down. Can you imagine that, ladies and gentlemen? What would you think, personally yourself, if you saw something like that? It's absolutely bizarre. Now, Gary Wood asked Mary about her friend Jane, who was with her on the night in question. How was she taking it? As I said, there were two women involved, and also a mother and son. A daughter and son. And Mary responded by saying that Jane was taking it better than she, and that she had an awful lot more experiences that she was not coming forward with. Gary went on, when you were looking at the UFO on the 23rd of September, did you feel that you were getting any communication from it? Mary replied that she never got anything. She was just completely stunned and mesmerised by it. At this point I asked, do you think that what you saw was a true image of these beings? Or do you think it's maybe something else? She replied that she didn't know, that she felt that these beings were somehow collecting things, taking samples, etc. Now I mentioned that, and this is why sort of researcher maybe doesn't like me talking about these things. I mentioned that she bought UFO magazine when she had the initial encounter, that first second of the triangle and the swooping tubular lights. She went to get a jar of coffee, bought a UFO magazine. Who can afford with this? Which is fair play. She had seen something strange. Let's have a telephone number here. But it also came up later on that she was a subscriber to the 14 Times, and I think Flying Saucer Review as well. So that gets your mind going. Could she be inventing this? I talk to people in this subject all my life, and I know people will do anything to get out of an alleged haunted house, or maybe indeed it is a haunted house. So people will use anything to get out of a house, and we find out that the house is not haunted. They just don't like living there. We've tried everything with the council. How on earth can we move out of this house? Well, let's invent a ghost story. And believe you me, that happens. People do invent these stories. So we're saying, okay, well, could this be the case in this particular scenario? She's been a subscriber to FT. She's also a subscriber to Flying Saucer Review as well. And so is she maybe just milking this? Is she looking for attention? Is she lonely? Her husband was away. He visited occasionally. He was working away. I can't talk about where he worked, believe it or not. And she only had seen her friends and stuff. So was she just creating this story? But her son was involved in it as well, just to seek attention? I don't think so. She was adamant that she didn't want anybody to know about this case. So where does this leave us? I mean, at the end of the day, we're dealing with witness testimony. We've not got any UFOs to study unless we believe the claims coming from Area 51, White Sands, Missile Base, etc. There may well be some form of alien intelligence housed there. Who knows? I don't know. I've not reached that conclusion yet. I've seen the videos of some strange structured aircraft in the sky. The vast majority of UFO reports, as high as 95%, can be identified. I've said it before, but very briefly, only leaves us a small 5%. 3% of that could be our own black budget technology, stealth aircraft, Aurora aircraft. 1% of the remaining 2 could be we're losing our minds, we're on medication, we're just wishful thinking, misperception, I should have said misperception, and the 1% is left is, I believe, something else. I'm not necessarily, I mentioned that I believe that we're dealing with something real, but I'm not necessarily saying it as extraterrestrial, it could be interdimensional. I'm surmising, admittedly, I am surmising. But just to close, I've got tons more stuff to go through with you, and absolutely tons. In fact, just let me see if I can quickly go through some of these things. Yeah, she wouldn't release, we asked Mary if she could release the drawings that our son had did for SBI. She says, no, you're not getting any copies. Okay, but you're still happy for us to use your account? Oh yes, by all means. And so we didn't have any backup information. We have a few slides, marks on the grass. Can we go through some more slides just to see if there are other ones I do quickly want to talk about? And again, Matt. Yeah, there's some more of these things. Okay, we'll leave it on that one just now. So at the end of the day, it's one of these cases that's very, very baffling, very, very strange for me as a researcher. And I've dealt with a lot of cases in my life, and all I can safely say is this was one of the biggest, it probably is the biggest incident to do with these small grey creatures ever in Scotland. And if it's true, by golly, what are we dealing with here? What are we dealing with here? Because there's only another case I'm aware of, with so many of these, and maybe Daryl Sims could correct me if I'm wrong. I'm only aware of another case similar to this, and it was a research by an American researcher called Don Worley. I don't know if you know him, Daryl. And he said, yes, I've heard about a case similar to that, somewhere in America, and he told me where it was. I think it was it Oregon? I think it was Oregon. Where the very same was seen. Lots of these small grey creatures, and they were carrying canisters and cubes. Wow. I asked him for more information. I begged him for more information about that case, but he wasn't forthcoming, and I never received it, which was a shame. So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, just to recap, that was just some of the highlights from the investigation of this bizarre, totally a bizarre case that occurred on the 23rd of September 1996. You're not talking your classic disc, you're talking these triangular-shaped objects, columns of light shooting down here, small grey beings, blue beams coming into the room. Aliens, a lead stroke, whatever, going to school, coming in a taxi. I do not know what to make of this case at all. Sadly, there's no more we can do about it, because as I said, the witnesses have clammed up. They were talking to David Coleman, and we're still waiting on his report coming out. I've begged Dave Coleman to turn over his case report, because I gave him everything of mine. I gave him all the notes, the files, the audio tapes. He didn't reciprocate. I didn't get anything back from that chap at all. So there we have it. That's just one of the most incredible cases I've personally been involved as a researcher, dealing with this subject, and I don't know what to make of it at all. And I'm sure each and every one of you may have your own thoughts, your own takes on that. And that's why I'd now like to invite each and every one of you, if you can, show me your hands, ask me any questions you would like to do so. As I say, I don't have the answers, but because I've worked at the sharp end of ufology for many, many years, then we can, in fact, have I got 5 more minutes, John?
Yeah, we've got time for questions, Malcolm.
Just questions?
If you've got time, yeah, just a couple of minutes, because we're running very, very late. Yeah, just carry on for a couple more minutes, that's no problem, and just take a few questions.
Matthew, could we have another video? It's a very quick piece of video that I want to close this with. It's a TV show, it's a religious TV show that I did in Scotland at that time. But just before we come to the video, any quick questions just now, just before we come to this closing piece of video footage?
Right in the front.
Get away.
Yep, 1 second.
What did you do to qualify this woman when you went to meet her? What did you do? What thought processes or tests did you do that she wasn't a nutcase or a charming delusional or anything else?
I just love this woman. See these lovely questions she's given everybody today. It's fantastic. Thank you, Alan. What we did, we left her with a form called the Anamnesis form. I think it's over 60 questions which asks nitty-gritty questions about that person. And we do say to all these witnesses, if you don't want to answer these questions, questions talking about are you an alcoholic, are you on any medication, are you on drugs, to try and get us to understand about the type of makeup of that person, because yes, you're correct. Is it a person, is it an individual that's trying to pull the wool over your eyes? And we asked that, and when we got that form back, it appeared to me, although I'm not the chap that devised the form, I could see from that it was quite truthful. And we just show this piece of video footage I've got mine.
The next day, Malcolm agreed to take me to the place in Fife where that alarming incident had taken place. In the days following the sighting, he and two other investigators had interviewed the two adult witnesses and had even arranged counselling for them, so traumatised had they been by the incident. Having seen how previous witnesses had been treated, neither woman would speak directly to the media for fear of intrusive press coverage. But Malcolm had brought with him a taped account of that evening in September 1996, which he had recorded with one of them soon after the event.
What was presented to me was a huge black triangle. It had a red light at its corners. There were 3 in total at each corner, and almost like it was floating, it gradually drifted away. It was after that we actually saw some figures. One was really tall compared to the others. They were carrying boxes, and they were also carrying canisters. They were just running round. They seemed to be picking things up, putting things down. Then my friend said, they're coming, and I just rammed the car into first gear and into second gear, and I realised I was doing 55 miles an hour. It was quite frightening at the end. The others had been looking back as we fled, and they shouted, because as we'd left, the whole field had lit up in an enormous blue flash.
I am not embarrassed to say to you that I honestly believe that mankind is somehow interacting with some form of alien intelligence. Where I get angry, Phil, is that they are abducting people from this planet in circumstances which is very traumatic, returning them back with scars on their body, and that to me really upsets me. It may sound fanciful, some of your viewers might find that unusual or hard to believe, but I have been working at the sharp end of ufology for many years, and I can honestly say that this is real.
A very basic question, Malcolm, right? Are these guys baddies?
Well, yes, I would say that to anybody that takes anybody out of a situation and subjects them to some form of medical or clinical examination, to me, yeah, that is bad.
Is it a hopeful future we're looking forward to, or is it a bleak future we're looking at in relation to these UFO encounters?
Well, I think we should be alarmed. I don't see how it could be rosy. I mean, this is an ongoing situation. This is not something that is receding. This is something which is increasing. And I don't know where this takes us. I honestly do not know where this takes us.
Thank you, Matthew. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I'd just like to finish on that, and thank you each and every one of you for your attendance here today. Have we got time for one quick question? Let's go.
We've got a couple of questions.
Thank you,
Bobby, first of all.
I thought I saw a pool of water by the, it looked like a lake actually the first time, and then in the video I saw some water just by the man you were talking to. Do you know if that area had a lot of water, maybe underground streams? That's something I think you've heard from this.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from in that. We did ascertain that there were underground streams in that area. Whether that's any substance to the environment or it would assist in the investigation of that area, we really don't know. Sometimes those fields that you saw in the video did flood if it was a very, very heavy rainfall. But are you thinking earth lights, Paul Devereux and stuff like that? Oh, the bend of light as well. Yeah, just briefly, I mean, it's like the tectonic strain on the Earth's crust. When the Earth's crust moves, these tectonic rock plates will emit a ball of plasma light which can release from underneath the surface of the ground and dance majestically in the sky. And for any unsuspecting member of the public looking at that, they might think it's a fanciful flying saucer. So, you know what's it. Next question.
We'll take one more question from this gentleman here, but after that we will have a break. Malcolm will be outside to answer any further questions. But last question for you, David.
Malcolm, I think you were saying there was some substance that was sent away for analysis, but wasn't returned. What was the story on that?
That's right. We sent the substance away to be analysed by a department here in London. This is when I stayed up in Scotland. I forget for the moment where that department was, but I can get back to you on that and give you the facts and figures for sure. There was nothing back from that because we didn't get anything back at all. So to this day we don't know what that substance was. It was like it was like a tarry deposit, like a tarry effect in the grass and stuff like that. Also, we had some other slides here, which all the area was covered in this like it was like fibrous material, but that's just something. It's a component of farm life. You get this kind of a small, it's like these little fairy things that you get all over the trees, but that was nothing to do with that particular sighting. But to answer that question, we don't know.
How many of those dunes deposits were there?
There were approximately four circular deposits in that area.
All circular.
Circular, as you saw on the slides, or near enough circular, you know. But what you saw on the slides there was exactly how they looked at that time.
Right, well, ladies and gentlemen, Malcolm has replaced Jenny Randall's session, and at such short notice, I hope you agree that it was a fascinating session, so please give a warm thank you. We will be taking a 15-minute break now, but I think there is some Chris Martin's got some DVDs and CDs for sale outside on one of the tables. For the Bufora bookstore here, I do take US dollars and euros as well for our visitors, but say please come back in 15 minutes and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.